Don't get scared when you see the drawing. Okay, it's not Mona Lisa I'm painting.
Okay.
So let me just see if I can make it bigger.
What's that? Meta model?
This is a meta model.
Data model. Okay.
Data model. So basically how the file system works. So you see each of these individual files here, index.php, about.php, contact.php. Each of them loaded header.php. We know that, right? The header.php, this guy. They all have that. And the header.php, on the other hand, loaded config.php on the top. And the bottom.
Sorry, what do you mean by using the word loaded?
Loaded means include
okay.
once, includes.
Okay.
So, and then config, at the end of the config, we included data model.php. This is the structure we have done. So let me just quickly have a look of the file system. That is the case. So this is our config. At the end of the config, you see data model is loaded, right? Yes. At the end of it. The config file then has been loaded to header.php on the top.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
We did it last week. But because of the header file is loaded to all rest of the files like shop, index, about. I just use 3 as an example here. So rest of the file you see here, they all somehow connected. Can I say that case? The contact PHP is connected to data model. They all connected.
Yes.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
And they're connected through header to config to data model.
Yes.
So anything you write in data model or config should be available to all this file. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Data model actually is connected to the, for example, contact PHP. Yes. Through the.
Through this chain.
Okay.
From data model to this, to this, to this.
Okay.
So that's pretty much every file I connect. Usually standard MVC model, we are having MV. So these are, so let me see if I can draw a transparent. These are, let me see. No, these guys are called view. All of these things the customer sees, they are called view, V-I-E-W, views in MVs, views. It's a technical name for views. It's not only for web, it's also for other applications. Some case they call it screen in app. If you're developing app, these are the screens the user sees. Okay, and this box here, let me do this another color. Here is called model. Because this connects directly to something called database. So if I do this a little bit, this is the one only has connection. Of course, you may say config also had connection because it has
connection to data model.
Connection to database as well. So this also have connection to kind of the database. Let me see if I can find a database here. Let's say this is our database. Let's make a database. Let's make a database.
Do the star.
That's a good one. So can I write there? Edit text. I should be able to write something in here.
Yes, you just need to change it to pen or something like that.
Pen. You're right. So that's our database. So the database is connected to config for the connection purpose. Because we loaded data model underneath of the config in the script, data model will have all the functions that now will be using this connection to this. So actually, let me try it slightly different way. The config file actually technically directly connected. Correct me if I'm wrong. With the database, which is this guy. Let's get this guy here first. Okay, and then you said database. A bit bigger, maybe. Okay, this is our database, which PHP myadmin. This is the guy, the config is the one create the connection, right? In the data model, because in the data model, we'll have function that communicates with database. Of course, every single function that I will be using in the model will be using the connection object from the config file to connect to database and do its job.
So why do we create the separate data model like file if actually it works through the config?
It doesn't work. It's just the config only give the connection.
Okay.
The connection is only 4 lines of code. Okay, and various function you'll see in data model will be using that connection in order to manipulate data.
Okay.
So that's what it works.
So
if you look at our...
So the mechanism of this is in the data model, yes? Because there are the functions.
Yeah, they are the functions, yeah. The only thing that data model needs from the configuration file is the connection object.
Okay.
The con thing. And then data model, because the data model is now connected virtually to all of them, when I write a function here, the function will require a connection object from here, use it to send data back and forward this. In fact, after getting the connection object, basically data model doesn't need configuration file anymore. It can directly use that connection to manipulate the database. You will see this technique. But in a nutshell, this is what it is. My objective is to tell you that every view actually has connection to this guy. Also this guy, through the header file. Is it clear? Yeah, that's pretty much it is. So if I have a contact form here, if a customer fill this information, when you submit this information, of course, goes to all the way to data model, and data model then know what to do with this piece of data coming through it and send that information to the database or retrieve data from the database, whatever it does. So our first objective is to write our first function, which will make sense when I do this. Then you will see. But this is in a nutshell, your actual file. Okay. So open up your data model file for me, which is this. It's empty at the moment. It's completely empty. There is nothing. So here we're going to write one function. I'm going to borrow something, a hashtag from here, just to write a comment. Here I'm going to do something very interesting part. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a PHP tag. Let me know if you can see the code clearly. I'm going to start a PHP here, of course, making sure there is nothing before and after. Yeah, I have a little space. I make sure I remove it. And I said, after this, PHP. And of course, I will have this PHP written here. And here, the first function that I want, the objective of this function is to collect all the data from our product table. So I'm going to write a comment here, get all products from database, or just for yourself, which function does what. Okay. So you can do it me while I'm typing. You can type as well. We are going to create a custom function that does these things too for us. And I'm going to call this function, I'm going to give it a name. Function get all products. You can give it whatever you like. Usually that's how I do. Get all products. As I said, if you understand one of this mother function, you will understand the rest of the function with the slightest change.
function. Hold on, it just got all products. Right, it does. Oh no, it's okay. Okay.
Okay. So there is a bracket. This is where it's finished. The function, you can say end of. You don't have to write end of if you want. So here I'm going to, of course, I need to check what is the name of my database table, product table. Is it products or product? Making sure it's product, singular. Okay, so I got that. First thing I do, I declare, I call something, I need the global connection. Remember the con object? It is in the config file. Remember this guy?
Oh, session? Ah,
no.
SQL.
The connection. Never forget this. This guy we need. This guy is already loaded before I load my data model at the bottom. So the guy is ready. The guy is ready for me. But the way we declared it in a separate file, don't they? Even though they work as one file now, because I included all, mix them together. But this is declared in a global space. We call them global. Because when you declare a variable inside a function, such as like this, this is a function. If I declare a variable here, let's say some variable, or let's say age of a person. You know what is a local and global, right? We discussed these things in, let's say 26. Now, when you declare a function within when you declare a variable within a function boundary, function bracket, the variable remain within that function. It has no way to mix with other global variable. That's the difference between global and local. Locals are always local. When you declare first time a variable and you declared it inside a function bracket, this is the boundary of the functions. This variable is not accessible from here, not from anywhere in the world. It remains within it. But of course, if I have declared, let's imagine I declared this, and I said nothing for now, then I do this. You think this is local or global, guys?
Which one?
This one.
This one is global.
This one?
Yeah, and this one is local.
Local. Is it clear to everybody? In PHP, local function, local variable only declared within the function bracket. That's it. That's a local. As you see, they are not same color. Can you see that? Your editor is trying to tell they're not blue. They're two different. So this will be treated as a global variable because it's just not within the function, but anywhere else, not within any function in PHP. Okay. This one.
Local.
It's that simple in PHP. Not different than other programming languages. Now, if this is the case, I put 30 here. Okay. Now I'm just gonna fun. I'm gonna say, who is giving me error? What is it? What is your problem? Okay, return void. That's okay. No worries. I will come back to you. So it says, let's say echo for fun, guys. I'm going to print this on the page. I'm going to print it on the page. I'm going to print age, but I'm printing it outside the function boundary. End of the function. This is the end of the function. Okay. Okay, so let me just make a little space for you so you understand each of them. Now I'm trying to print the age. What it will print? 30 or 26?
Global.
Global.
Yeah.
Brilliant answer. It has no access to anything within the function module. It has no access. It's going to print. So that means how many actual age variable do I see in this script?
2.
How many of them? 2. And they are different completely. They're completely different. Now, if I do this,
it will be 36.
Which
26.
It will be 36. 36. Brilliant. So I don't have access to. So this is going to prefer this guy. So why? Because if it is a global, this should be accessible everywhere, not only outside here, but it should be also accessible this. But why? Is it not? It's a global means global. Global is public. But
well, apparently not in PHP, yes? This is what I read. You cannot access it. Yeah.
In this case, yes. Within the function, when you print them, it has the priority. The local has the priority. It's not going to print age 30. It's going to print age 20. Always. The local has the priority. Just like your internal CSS has more power than external CSS. Similar concept, basically, in a programming way. So it will print 26. 26, but not 30. Okay, that says the priority is going to print 26. But if I didn't have like this, what will it print? Let's say
30.
Nope.
Hold on.
It will give an error because we didn't even declare age in the local. It's always look for the local within the function. It doesn't find the global. Is there no way we can print the global? Well, we can. It's turned out to be. Because I don't want to declare local variable called age. I want to print the global variable who should be available to me in a function. But it seems like giving me error saying that if I hover into variables, this is, unset. You did not even declare any variable earlier. There is nothing to print about it. It doesn't exist nor it values. It couldn't find. But is there no way I can use it? Of course you can use it. In PHP, to borrow, you cannot directly use global variable in a function. You cannot. You have to use a keyword, a special keyword. It's called global. Then you have to write the function that you want to borrow. Sorry, the variable. Global.
Global.
You have to write this.
Okay.
You have to declare it. You have to tell your function the age variable that I'm going to print is going to be borrowed from a global space. You have to use it. You have to use global to use it. Global keyword. Then it's going to print 30. You have to mention with the keyword global. In PHP, you use global keyword to print global variable. Otherwise, it will treat as a local variable. Okay? Is it clear? Remember the global keyword, that's all. If you ever want to use a global variable, local is not a problem in a function. You can print them, no problem. But if you're about to borrow, if you're about to use a global variable, you must mention, you must declare it just like this. The global age, you must tell the function, don't look at your space, look at outside any connected files for a global variable. Is it clear? The global.
Yes.
So of course, one of the functions that we're going to use, one of the connection object, this is a global variable. If you look, is it not? It's not within a function. It's in a PHP page, basically. This is a global variable. It can be used by any pages, any functions. So I'm going to use this for my own reason here. So I'm going to say like this. I'm going to get rid of these guys, local, global, global. All you just have to remember one thing. First thing first, to use connection object, you have to use global keyword. global, and you declare it. Not declaring, you're just telling your function to make sure that it use this guy. Okay. Now it is coming from upside. Don't worry. It's still saying, hey, the color is not changed. But when you hover onto it, says the reason that color is not changed is said you have a global, you have a variable declared but not used. So let's use it. We'll be using it. Don't worry. So now this represent the configuration files global variable. That's what it represents. Okay, we need that first of all in every function. The second thing I need to write a statement, SQL statement, and I need to store that into a local variable. And usually in programming we call them SQL. Declare variable called SQL. We put double quotation. It's not that hard to select everything from database. What command do you use? SQL, if you remember. Select. I'm gonna help you to select everything from all star. Yeah, star. Now see, this will help. Star from table.
Table. Yeah? Okay.
Table name. You see, this is what we are getting to use those things, and the table name is product.
Okay.
We just have two important things. One thing the connection, one thing the SQL statement. We are just preparing it. I haven't used it yet anywhere. I haven't injected it yet into database. It's called a statement. This is a SQL statement. For the purpose. Okay. In this case, we just want to select everything. That's the first thing. Now, earlier days, it was easy to inject information inside this guy. Quite dangerous. This is called SQL injection. A recent development of MySQLi and all this latest model of databases, it's not possible virtually to, if you carefully design your function. So basically what happened, most of the database get injected during the compilation time. Compilation. When you compile, when you compile, when compile using the PHP server, some complex things. So it compiles things, and when it compiles, then people used to inject this. Now the compilation is the time when you send the real data, because you want to compile that. Compile is a process that English-like language that you're writing, it will be compiled to a binary version for your computer to understand. Think about that way. And that is the time, exact same time. If you send the, you also send the data from outside world, like say select all from product or ID equal to whatever customer choose. Now with that data coming from outside world are very dangerous. If you send them during the same process of compilation, then if it has a dangerous attack scripts, if you're not filtering, not sanitizing, it could easily break your database. No doubt about it. So the problem wasn't other thing. Problem was that we are sending data at the same time called compilation time. Nowadays, modern database don't do that anymore. They do two things separately. They do not send the data. They do not allow the data to go outside data to go. Whatever customer type, their name, address, let's say they are filling a form, all this data will not go at the same time of the compilation. They go separately. This is very complex to understand at this stage. All I'm going to say, they introduce something called prepared. They separate the process. The compilation happened without the data, and the actual outside data get injected after compilation. This way, the danger of having it attacked during the compilation time has been resolved forever. That means virtually it's impossible to break a database sending external form data from outside using scripts, because we are no longer compiling and sending data together. We separate that process called prepare. Now this is a function that's going to do the job. So each of your functions should do the prepare. Okay. Without this, you risk it. So I'm just gonna, don't worry, I'll explain it. I'm going to call a function called MySQL I prepare. This is a built-in function. MySQL I prepared. This wasn't available a few years back. Prepare function. It says prepare, not execute. Not execute. There are two words. Prepare and execute. We used to do them together in one execute. Now we are doing them separately. So first thing, we'll try to prepare. During this preparation, it has all the functions to check whether it has a sensitive, it has a scripts and all these things. So the prepare has been built such a way. And beside virtually, it's not possible because the whole data going there and compilation is not happening together. We have now new thing called prepare. And lazy programmer, if you do not pay a programmer good money, they will not write this. And you always vulnerable to hack. No way, one or other way they'll get you. So always never, don't forget to use this prepare statement. This prepare statement takes two things. One, the connection object plus the SQL statement. This SQL statement luckily has no data coming from outside, but update, delete, form data, they comes from outside world. That means somebody typing it. Am I correct? If you're filling a form, you are the user. Instead of filling the form with your name, you could send a bunch of scripts to destroy it. So I have to collect the data, bring it over here. Now, select all from star product doesn't actually have anything coming from outside. Am I correct? This name suggests select. It's rather selecting thing. It's not updating anything or deleting. This is statement only selecting thing. So we are now trying to prepare it. And we do like this. Now, the prepare statement, without too much difficulties, is like this. It's prepare an SQL statement for execution. That means after this will come execution. First preparation will happen. It says prepare an SQL statement for execution. Earlier days, the execution and sending data was together without preparation. And that is the most vulnerable place to inject value and compile it to binary, which can destroy not only just database, but also computers. So this case, we separate the process with this inbuilt feature function that came lately called prepare statement. Now the prepare statement, if it is successful, it returns some information, just like con object. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. All good. If it is fails, it returns false. You can read about it. If I hover onto it, I don't even have to go to W3 school. It says provide the connection object, takes two variable. This is the con object, and provide the query. The query is this. So I have provided these two variable. One represent the connection object. One represent the SQL query. This is nothing but a query. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. So if you hover onto this, it's going to give you information like this, or you can go to W3 School, check it out. It takes two parameters. Two parameters are MySQL I object, which is, we know, con object, and another is a string, which is query, because you saw the entire query is written in double quotation mark. So they gave some name for them, MySQL and query. We gave con and SQL. That's the difference. If it is successful, if this is successful, it returns some other object. It's all about object to object and object and object and object. If it is successful, just like our earlier function that you saw, MySQL I connect in the configuration file, if it is successful, it used to return connection object. And if it is fails, it is to return false. Same goes for this function as well. If it is successful, it will return a new object, some sort of new object, which is specific to that table, specific to the product table, not the entire database. The con object, on the other hand, that you saw in config, does a lot of technical information. We saw that in the var dump, if you remember. It's a lot of, but this guy, after this function, will return something specific to the product table, because our query suggests so. Select all from product. And that return, that object we call statement object. Unlike the other one, we call connection object. This is called a statement in short, STMT. Globally, everybody knows this is called a statement object. That's if it is successful. If it is failed, if there is no data, if there is no such table as product, this function returns false. False. That's pretty much it is. So we predict that so far I have a product table. I haven't done anything mistake here. So it should return something. And I have some record as well. Yeah. So remember, if a function returns something, just like you did for con, here, this function returns something. So we declare a local variable and stored that information, didn't we? We'll do the same. If a function returns thing, we must store it. So I'm going to declare a variable called statement. In short, because I know this returns something called statement, not connection. Because it says here, something they like to call it SQLi statement. Okay. That's what it's doing. So if it is returned something, I decided to call it a statement. You can call it a SQL statement, however you like. It's a local variable, basically. So if it is returned that successfully information that I'm required, it will keep it into this variable. If it is fails for some reason, what are the reason you can think of it could fail to return data?
Well, the database is not existing. Yes, the connection is not.
Good.
Not existing, and
the product table is not there. Spelling mistakes in this statement. So many things could go wrong. If that is the case, it will return.
Hold on, this
false.
Oh, it doesn't let me declare the statement in the because I have to put a space here. Okay. All right. All right.
It's a return value. Let me know if you understand this. As I said, this one function, if you understand, you understand almost a lot of functions. So I'm not going to rush. Pretty much all functions will have basic structure of this.
Mhm.
That's not the case. We'll see what is going on with these issues. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is okay, right?
Mhm.
So far, so good. I'm just gonna try something just for fun. Let's see if this works. Just stay with me a few seconds. I need to debug something for myself.
Mhm.
If I have, because I sometimes change things and it goes. Just stay with me. Let me just double check something. For some reason, my con object is not being found. It says double check it. Why it is not found? Right. The con variable seems like not available anywhere. Let me see. It's giving me null.
Okay.
I think I have done something. I have to check the config file. PC globe, localhost root, con.
Mhm.
Okay, wait. Yes, okay. Just one more time. Let me see. Okay, this is done. Here you go. Okay, just wait with me. Just doing some basic homework. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, it is working. It is working. As you can see, you'll probably see some sorts of a little bit of wiggly line here, don't you? The red is saying complaining this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Just ignore that. This is nothing to do with the code error or anything. It is something, the organization of it. The data model file at the moment I'm editing, yes, is loaded on the config file, as you can see at the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm individually editing data model, imagine this. When I'm editing in editor, this file doesn't know it is connected to the config. Does it make sense? It doesn't know when I'm editing it.
Mm-hmm.
These both are know each other through the header. So you will see the error here. A little bit of, saying, oh, I couldn't find this, I couldn't find this, I couldn't. But when you run it, when you run your application, it will be visible because your header file is sequentially loading them. But when I'm editing, the error is showing during the edition, not actually in the page. But if this error bothers you, let's say it's bothering you during the day, I don't have errors, why do I see it? One technique you could use is very simple, is just load it here. Just for fun. Include once. I'll tell you why it is. Just so when I'm editing, I don't see this error. Config.php. This should now obviously it will have double of this. If you see this kind of, I don't know, you guys try this, see if you see any wiggly line. Okay, I'm just gonna give you this entire thing. Let me just, before I give you this, let me just do one more thing, just to state. Just do one more thing before I give you product dump to a statement. Let's see. Ignore these kind of things if you see. Ignore them. They're not actually true and error. They're just sequential issues. That's why I want to double check. Brilliant. Everything works. So try this out. Ignore this little bit of wiggly line. I know where it is, and it is not going to be visible, maybe even for you. So I'm going to put it in your chat. What I'm printing the statement object using part2. Put it in your, what do you call it? Data model. We have tested it didn't show you error. Yeah, it's not going to happen to you. As I said, some of this extension, yeah, it's good. See how many of you see this wiggly line. If you say, I know this is not for me, this is one of the extension does it for me sometime. But I'm not worried about it as long as I know things are working. You may not see red color or anything. This is what I was talking about. Some of this could trigger this kind of thing, which is a fake alarm. The only way to know them to check the database, the website, refreshing and see if it is working. See if it gives you some information like this when you run the application. This is called a statement object. It will tell you MySQL is STMT. To make it even pretty, you can use echo pre function to show it nicely. Let me see. I'll do this. Add this to line if you want. Not this. No, not this. Basically, we create a function. We call that function. Whatever function returns, we print it. And we were interested to see what the statement object does. Last time we saw connection object does. It's good to investigate each of them. So I'm going to add a pre here, just to show it nicely. Pre-formatted style, so it will show nicely. And I'm going to refresh this. We're going to investigate first function very well today. Make sure that we understand each stage is what it's doing. So try this out. Just put around this. See if you can see what I see.
Yes, my one is same like your one.
Sure.
Okay.
Even if sometimes I say you use var dump, you can do yourself those things to test nicely. So I just so you get used to it to see it's nicer. How many columns do I have in my tables? Let me check. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 column I have. What are the information it says? I have number of field is 8. So this gives some sort of weird information that we don't know much, but this is how you can see this is the state of it. It gives a little bit string, some sorts of thing that we don't know. We don't probably even need them, but it is needed by following down below functions. This gives some sorts of information, just like corn object does, technical information. But this time it only gives about the table itself, the product table. But it's not the data. We still away from the data. We still haven't done the execution. We just prepared. Prepare should not give you more information anyway. But I'm going to fail it by making a different name to it. Table name, I'll just put some TTTTT just like I did. I don't have a table like this. See what it does. It does it. What does it print? Hopefully it prints some sort of thing other than this. Null, it prints null. Or false, because it couldn't print it. I don't know if you can see it because I'm sharing the screen. You won't be able to see because the boundary. I can print it. Yeah. Null. False. Because there's no table yet. It's as simple as that. So now review this whole situation. What is going on? What we did, what we were trying. We still haven't got information about our data, tables and everything, rows. We are not even there. We're just checking step by step each of this functionality and what they return. So obviously, after this, nothing happened. But we're going to remove this. We're going to add more things to it. But every time I do this, I'm going to check whether everything, so you can see. If this is fails, this variable will have nothing but false or null. And if you try to print it, it's going to print null. So what is happening here? I have a function called getAllProducts, which have a statement, SQL statement, which is pretty basic, not a SQL statement object, just the statement.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a global connection borrowed from the config file. We have a check here, use the if statement. We said if this is true, or whatever it does, please try to run this function, MySQL prepare function, which does some sort of housekeeping safety checks. It requires two objects, two kind of variable or parameters or argument. According to its declaration, it says one is the connection object, one is the statement, SQL statement that you just wrote. Once you give them, if they all fine, it should return something. We call it SQL statement object. If you hover, it says here, statement. They are all objects. Okay, it returns. It returns. If it is fails, it also says upon fails, or this is the or, false or null. Now that I've done that, whatever the consequences is, I need to call this function. This function not going to fire on its own. No function does fire on its own. I need to call it. So I've decided to call it here on this line. Obviously, just to test, before we put these things into view, we want to test it within the same file. So to test this function, I need to call it. And I call the function. Function ran all of these things, and it will return me whatever it is, whether it has some positive data to give it to me or the false. It's going to return back to me here, which I then kept in a local variable. This statement and this statement variable are two different. This is global. You can call it anything like you can call it blah blah blah. Blah. It's not a problem. It's just a local variable. Call it blah. It's not a problem. So we call this function at line 5. The function did its job. It was successful. It's packed information into this object called return object or return statement object, and I returned it. Remember, after return and retired, after returning whatever you ask it to return, the function retires. It doesn't continue any further. That's all we wanted. And just to check whether what is inside this SQL statement, as you call it. Yep. Absolutely. No problem. Same. You can call it anywhere in these scripts. You can call it down below. Here. It will work. It will do the same thing. You can call it whenever you like. You can call it. It works. Let me double check. One of those kashas. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Well, it works, but you know. Yes, it works at 9 as well. But
what is that? Okay, let's go. Let's do this again. Yes, okay, no problem. So I'm going to bring it over. It doesn't matter. I usually keep it here so you can see all of it. So this is it. This is step by step. We're gonna, as I said, I'm gonna take enough time to understand this. Obviously, a lot of things goes on this function, and we're gonna test each of them. We're not gonna rush because this one single function will help you to understand the rest of the function. That means we don't have to repeat the whole thing, but we must understand each steps of it. We are not done with the get all products function. We're just showing you step by step piece of it. Ask me any question if you have. Anyone else? Anyone else? If one have any question? Kasha, if you have anyone questions, Paula, if you have questions, up to here? What part that you did not understand? Or Charlotte or Sadaf? This piece of code you see here is just to test this function. It's not going to be here. It's going to be in our pages. Just to test this. Every steps we make sure that step by step we are building it right. Every bits of pieces. So that's what we are doing. Okay. Shall we continue then?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Do you have any question? Go ahead. Before it's too many lines, it's better to ask me now. Did you understand up to here? Something we need call a SQL statement. Whatever that is, you saw. We need for further steps. So this is good. Now the prepared statement, given this all good information, has returned us something very interesting. And we do not know what are they, but you can see. So that means it says, hey, it returns an object, MySQL object called a statement. We are happy with that, to be honest. I don't have to worry about anything else now. What is the how many you have? Yeah. So that is pretty much it is. So we are happy. It's not false. That for sure. You can tell. It's not null. So let's go ahead and see this as a success. Let's go ahead and get rid of this return guy. That is just to check. Now that prepare has successfully managed to prepare it without any problem. We now going to call another function. It's called execute function. Execute function. Execute function is the one now going to execute, inject, or directly communicate or compile. Let's say compile this whole scenario to achieve what we want. Now, this is an if statement. Remember, this is an if statement. This is if statement will do anything. If this is true, if it is good, if it is nothing but the truth, then it will do some positive thing. If it is wrong, if it is not true, something went horribly wrong, we want to write an else part first. So we're going to say return false. So this is a check you must do. Anything prepare statements inside this, if it is true, whatever we want, next stage should execute. If this statement contain null or false, it will jump here and it will return false and retire. Simple. So we're gonna do this test. We did this. All you have to do is just make something like this. So it's gonna fail. And you'll see, now you see, refresh your page, you will see the word false. Earlier we saw null, now we see false. Because I made it a on purpose mistake product. Now I didn't have that before, so you used to see null. Now check this out. Even if you see null, it's also a representative of false. It's not a big deal. Null, false, void is all same. But it is giving much better, right? Look at that, bool, false. Prior to else statement, it says null. You couldn't do anything. But here we can even customize it nicely. And now we know what this function will return when it is false, when it is fail. Earlier, it could be null, it could be false. So now I on purpose made it such a way that upon failure of this, it should return false. Remember when I was teaching you the principle of how to design a custom function long ago in 10 commandments, literally. Like 12 of them for my blog. There, one of the things I discussed that if a function does not return anything or return null or void or undefined, depends on different program language, it could different things. So a good modeling system is do not depend on what the function by default does, null, undefined, void. Just use the else statement and make it false, so you know what to expect exactly, not null. So this is what I did. But now let's go ahead and do the execution. To do the execution, if it is everything okay, just bring it back. Do the execution. I will use something called MySQL statement underscore execute. This is another MySQL function. So if everything okay, this statement object contains some information. Now the execute function needs that. The chain of reaction. They each depend on each. So I'm going to put STMT. So this is the one I'm going to use to execute it. This is the moment when it will compile. Is everything goes wrong. And the prepare statement will check for viruses and treaties and that and all these scripts, and it will say, nope, everything is good. Now we going to compile or execute, actually inject information to database. This was used to be together, and that was the problem. So by separating this, there's no virtually logically possible to hack your database using SQL statement at any source. This is gone. Thing of a past. If you do this, thing of a past. Of course, we will have multi-layer of sanitization validation, you will see, but this is must have in all the functions. Even though after sanitization and validation, you're still vulnerable if you don't have prepare statement. This statement has been added on MySQL improved version. So let's do execute. After execute, of course, this function, if you hover onto this, unlike any function, what it does? Interesting. Execute a prepared query, query that already has been prepared. So when the and it returns nothing, it has no return. It's Boolean. It says no void. It doesn't return anything. It only returns true and false. You can always say true and false. If it is successful, true. If it is not successful, it will return false. So a kind of true and false, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
But it doesn't return any. It's just return true or false. If successfully executed, it will return true. If not, it will return false. Am I correct?
Yes.
But unlike prepared statement, which returns two different things, or connection object. On success, they return some data. On failure, they return false. Is it clear? On the prepared statement. It depends on how you design the function. The prepared statement has been designed such way. On success, it will return some source of technical data. It also means a positive data, also means true. On failure, it simply return false. Same goes for my MySQL connect function you saw in. But this particular function only returns true or false. This is also one of the commandments I explained in how to write a custom function, where if you have nothing to send or inform, it's just inject this. That's it. Then it doesn't do anything. But it sends a signal saying, yeah, all good. I have managed to inject it. Can it fail? Of course it can fail. Can it fail after this success? Very rare. But it does fail. It's also it could fail at this stage between line this and that. Imagine when the connection broke down, internet connection during this process, and we lost this for the oblivion. This may fail. Network problem. Computer crashes. Database is a computer as well. It crashes. At any point, this might also crash. It will return false. Very rare. Because the time between these two execution is so fast. It's very rarely happen. But you can do a check though. Let's have a look. Let's do a check. To do a check, what we do? If I can do that. But I will not do that. It's just, so you can do all checks just to check. So in his, I'm going to say return true. Else return false. Every check I'm doing this. Okay. If the prepare statement fails, is going to say return false. If the period statement passes, because I haven't done anything wrong, if the execute statement fails, it will passes, it will return true. If it is fails for some reason, which I don't think so, I can show you, will be false. But I will try my best. The way I will try it, by making this guy crazy, because I don't have such thing. So I highly likely to return. And all of these things will be printed here, whatever it does. Because after return, if it is returned true at this stage, none of this will happen any longer. If it is returns up to here, none of these two lines will not happen. So let's see what it does. Hopefully it's going to give me something of a Boolean. Making it fail is very difficult. Yeah, it's a fatal error. Because this is
unidentified variable. I think
because it's giving me another issues, not the issue I want. Okay, so making it fail is kind of has to be network problem or something. I can try to make it, because you see, if I make this fail, what do you see? You'll see this error, this false, not this false. Have a look. If I make this garbage, which one will fail? This one or this one? Which function will fail first?
The first one. And
that's the first one. So if it is fail, the program will jump straight away on the next here, right? In the false.
Yeah. But it still will fail.
Ignoring this part. None of this will happen. Try to understand this logic. It's very important logic. If you need to take another coffee, go and take it. Why I can't show you the statement execute, MySQL statement execute fail. This only can fail when you have network problem, internet connection issues, computer crashes at the server side. Then only it will come back as a failure. By changing the variable name to something weird, also not even executing it, because it couldn't find this. It was rather throwing this error. Now, if I make this fail, if I want to do a mistake here, then this function fail. If this function fails, then anything, the positive here will not execute. It's going to go straight to else, is it not? So that case also you will see false. So there is no way I can show you the failure of a SQLi statement execute unless a real situation happen. Okay. So I'm not going to write, I'm not going to bother, because usually it's very rare to happen. Okay, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to get rid of this guy. I'm just going to keep it the way it is, hoping there's nothing will go wrong. But you can do that as well. But for this application, I don't think so it is necessary. It's very rare to us. I do not need this statement. I need this guy. Yeah, I need this guy. Yeah, that's it. I'll leave it like this. I'll let it just run. Okay, statement. Now, when it does some run, of course, I believe this is true information. This is when well and everything fine. Let me get rid of this again. This is done. Execution has happened. We here we do the execution. Okay. Here we do the execution. This function returns. This function returns Boolean true or false. Or false. So this is it. Okay. Now that we have that, we need one more function. Okay. So we have prepared, we have injected everything happening in this space. Remember. So we have done step 2. Step 3, once you inject this thing to the statement, your database responds and you just to get this information, whatever database responded, I need another type of function. My SQL statement just send this information. If it's all good, it says true or false. It doesn't do any more other thing. Adjacent to it, just underneath of it, you have to call another function, which is responsible to get the result. Your database actually after this will respond to you with some data, because that's what we are looking for, isn't it? All the rows it should give me. But this function's job is not that. This function's job is to send it to database and retire. It does retire. But there is another function you write just after that. It is called. So when this function returns something, interesting thing is something happened to this guy. It's changed. Let's see what it does. It doesn't return anything. It's gonna be, if I just say return, just to see whether it's been changed or not. Statement, just to see if it is what it does return. So see, we tested it before, we're gonna test after this. So where it is, see what it does. It's good. Yeah, same thing, nothing more. I didn't see anything, so it's still okay. Statement object is okay. So one thing with that statement object, you will do a lot of things. One of the things you have just done is the execution bit. Can you go back to code? So with this statement that you created earlier here, with this you will do multiple steps. One step is this. Can you remember? This execute. Second step is the dealing with the result. It has information we need. To dealing with the result, to get actual result, we call a function, again, SQLi, SQLi underscore statement. Everything is the word statement, underscore get result. This is the one. This is a special function now I'm going to use. So with the statement object on our hand, we're doing series of instruction. One with this function, one with this function. Now this particular function, if you hover under this, says gets a result set from prepared statement. What is a result set, by the way? What is a result set, by the way? If you remember from MySQL. Or return false. So what is the result set in real life? Result set is this. Remember what I said earlier, when you run a query in here on a table, yes?
It gives us the results,
It gives up some information away from it. Let's say if I say, just give me the product name. Product name, product. Give me the column name of product name. Column. Is it product name? Yeah, it's product name. So not where. I don't need. I just, you see, now I'm running it. You see, in this case, it's giving me the product name only, is it not? For all of them.
Yeah.
So that's what I said. But this view you see is not actually your table, is it? No, it's just a part of the day. It's just created a temporary table every time you run these things out of it. And this table, technical name is anywhere in the world of any database is called result set, which we used to. This is what I discussed in the beginning, first day. Of course, it's noisy for you to remember, and I just want to remind you. So when you run a query, select query, or especially select query, and it produces some output out of one or two page tables, or one tables, or three tables, it doesn't matter. Whatever is projects on your screen, it is nothing but a temporary table. Remember that. That is not actual table. This is out of maybe one table or a join. It's a temporary table. This, a technical name for it is called result set. So that is what actual thing is. In here also we call them result set. So in this function, it said get result. You see, it's saying, carefully watch this. When I hover on it, it says gets the result set. Can you see the word result set here? From a previous step. Yeah, here. Yeah. This function is a built-in function, takes a statement object, which we have. It returns, on success, it returns all those results back to me, else false. So you see these are the multiple steps. Now we have something new. God, how many things we need? Okay. This statement, but this to happen, you need to still use statement. So it says on success, it will return something interesting. The first function that we use called MySQL I connect, return a connection object. The prepared statement return a statement object. Now execute did not return anything. But this fourth function, get result, on success return something called result. Can you see? MySQL result object. Result object, in short of result set. If it is fails, it returns false. Okay? Because it's returned something, unlike our execute, which doesn't return other than true and false, I can store this information. Because it is I can call it result. Or result set. It doesn't matter. You can call it result set. It's not a problem. If it makes sense to you. I usually call result. If you see result, this is the result set, basically. I'm going to call it result. I'm going to store that into this. Now, let's see, print it. Every step of this, I'm going to print them, return them to print it. What each of these things, step-by-step procedure. Database operation is not easy job. This is the most crucial job that any application handles. So up to here, it says these functions, this function returns result set object or result object. Okay, or you could say result set object if this makes sense to you better. AKA result set object. Also known, let's call it also known. Also known. Result set object. Sometimes they write it like this. Sometimes it's one word. Sometimes it's two word. It is result set. Up front. Success. Else what it does? Returns false. So let's see. Well, I'm going to return this as soon as, and we are doing the same thing here. Blah, we are printing the blah, the guy blah. Let's do it now. What it does? Earlier, it did print our statement object. Remember, this is our statement object. Now it's going to print your result set objects. Hopefully, you can see something different. This will be the result. Much smaller. It says something. It's again sending an object. This time it's saying MySQL result. Can you see? This is a different thing now. Of course, it has some technical information. It says how many field, 8 field, how many record it found. You see, which I did not have earlier. I was looking for the how many records, how many rows. In our previous statement object, it didn't have how many rows. So we got something more. We have 8 columns, 9 rows. Am I correct? Let's have a look. Let's check our database. 8 columns, it says. Each bit pulling things separately. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 column,
and
9 rows. Yeah. Brilliant. So this is, you can always step by step check using var down how I'm doing it. So that's result set. Have we done with it yet? No. We haven't done it yet.
No.
Yeah. Don't worry. We'll do this couple of times. Don't worry. We're gonna come back tomorrow again. Next Thursday, we're gonna cover it because I want. If you really understood one single function like this, the steps are same to all. Only things changes what you're returning, like statement, SQL statement. At the moment, you're reading all row. Maybe next time you will be saying, oh, give me all the featured product. Maybe next time you'll say set something, change something. But the most of the thing is same. Okay. So that's why this is extremely important. Take your time. It took us all time to understand or get it from head. Still, you won't be able to write everything from your head. It's quite difficult sometimes. It's not easy. But once you understand the concept, even if you forget, you'll see what you're missing. I'm writing the comments for you. This file will be given it to you. So you see. I'm just showing step by step. We are not done yet. But I promise to finish it by 9. Okay? one more check left. Then we are done. Now this result, upon success, will have something in it, right? Since you came all the way from here to here without issue, I don't think so this will be issue. Yeah? So this is good. And we're not going to return anything now. We checked everything. One more check and you're done. This is the time we're going to do another if statement. You see, what I want to show you to observe this guy. Num rows. Check this out. How many?
9.
It says you have 9 rows. 9 records. If it is 0, that means what?
There is no records.
But the table exists. That means
it's
it's
empty.
That's good. Good. So if we check this guy from the result set object, if the row number is greater than 0, that means what? The table is not empty. It has something. Am I correct?
Yes.
Am I correct, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I'm showing you object by object. Don't worry. As I said, just walk the walk with me. Sometimes we have to see a movie 2-3 times to understand. Don't because he's not easy sometimes. So I'm going to do one more thing. This because I'm going to check that. Now to check whether there is here I can see it, but how do I check that in code? So to do this, we have a beautiful function that comes with it. It's called numRow. MySQLi number of rows. So I'm going to check it. MySQLi. And guess what? If you do learn this, you'll do it for other Python or ASP similar. Number of rows. If they use MySQL, they will use the same thing. Rows. This is another built-in function. If you give it to the result object, we just created a few minutes ago. You see how nicely this gives this using that statement. We can do execute. We can use this to get the result. And when there is this result, something, that object. So 3 different objects we're using. Now I can use that object for the next one. So each of these functions depend on each other's return. And so I say number of rows. Hey, please, could you check? There is rows is greater than 0. You see? That's simple. Look at that, what it says. It gets the number of rows in a result. Now, if I don't have the result object, how do I supposed to check? This function will fail to check. Because you see, when I printed this on the page, it has the piece of information. Num rows. That's how it knows. It's also have fill count. So these pieces of technical information comes with the result set object, but not actual data. We still haven't fetched the data. So we're still step by step. So one more check we have to do whether the table is empty or not. To check it, if the row has anything greater than 0, that means you have at least 1 record. Else, there is no record. But table exists. It's an empty table. This way you can give your client a message saying, sorry, no stock in product or no number of rows, no product yet, stuff like this. So if you said MySQL number of rows, this function, let's see a little bit about it. Okay, so this function takes a result object as a parameter, which you see. And upon success, it could return a string, it could return integer. That depends on what data you have, right? Your row could have mix of both, so it doesn't matter. So if it is successful, it's greater than 0. Now we'll write a function that finally will capture all the rows for us. That function is the final function. It's called MySQL fetch all MySQL I if it is greater than 0. If there is one greater than 0. MySQL I underscore fetch mean get. Fetch all, because in this case we want to collect all the rows, don't we? It has different function. Fetch all, you see a lot of function will come if I just type like this. Fetch all, fetch row, fetch array, fetch associative array, fetch field, fetch objects, fetch length, so many things. If you ever fetching all the record of a table, use fetch all function. Does it make sense? Yeah. And what dictates that I am fetching all record?
That the results are...
No. In this statement, what do you can predict? By looking at this, how do you tell my intention would to really extract all the record from a table?
Because the functions get all.
No. Check again. Tell me. Which dictates? When I'm going to use all, when I'm not using one field, two field. But what is these things from line 13 to line 30 tells that, gives you that clue. Check again and tell me.
Select all from product?
Yes. So the boss is this. Now, if I'm selecting all, I should use select all. If I'm selecting partial, I should only use fetch all. This is what dictates the whole thing. What do you want to select? So because I'm selecting all, in spite of no condition, no slicing of the columns, all row, all columns will be displayed. I said fetch all. Of course, fetch all function requires the result as normal. It will take the result. But how you would like to fetch it? This is interesting. Now, this bit's a very special command. You're not going to find everywhere. A bit advanced, but I know you can handle it easily. The fetch all function says all result rows as an associative array or a numeric or both. Have a look. Read the first line. How many ways you can return?
3.
Associative array, numeric array, or both. For manipulation, is PHP have a wonderful array called associative array. Don't use numeric array. Don't use both. Use associative array always. Okay. If you want to know more about what other things, okay, so you have to. But how do I dictate it? So to dictate, you need a second variable. That's a constant. My SQL SOC. Obviously, it says columns are returned into array having a field name as the array index. So you just have to add this constant. It's a built-in feature. Dictate, hey, I want this as an associative array. An associative array, just like JavaScript object. Do you remember the JavaScript array and objects different? Array always maintain a numeric 0, 1, 2 index, right? Object does, you can put a key name, like first name, last name, so you can identify the value. When it returns this, we want that way. We want all the column names should be holders of value or label. So you fetch them as a MySQL ISO. If you want to know what other variable this function can go with, you can always, what other, let's investigate a little bit. Okay. Let's investigate a little bit of this guy. After a long time, we are investigating one function. Let's go to W3 school because that will give us much more easier one. It should give us all the options here. Okay, now you can see, right?
Okay, result type, yes? There are two parameters.
If the second parameter is the most one we're looking for. To fetch them as associative, we use this, right? To fetch them as a numeric array, just like JavaScript, you use MySQL num. This is default. If you don't write anything, this is the default. It will fetch as a number, not as a associative. But you must, it will make your life easier if you do associative. I mean, that's the way everybody does anyway. But sometimes you might need it. You can also say MySQL both. So if you change this to both, it will select as a both. Or we don't need to overload it. Just use this. Okay. Result type, how you want. It's an optional value. If you don't use optional value, it will be num, as you can see. It will fetch as a number. So let's go. You can always change them how you like it. I will use fetch. Okay, this is done. We are done. We are pretty much done with our program. Now, of course, this function will return something, just like any other function, most of the function. You said it will take a result set object as the first parameter. A second parameter is called mode, which mode you want to connect. Either MySQL number, MySQL associate. To associate, we did associate. If you don't mention any of them, by default, it will be MySQL number. If you want both way to collect it, use MySQL I both. But we're going to use MySQL I SO. What it does return, can anyone say?
Array.
An array with all the results. Because it's returning an array, I'm going to put into a local variable. I'm going to call it product array. You can call it whatever you like. Or product data. Let's call it product data. Okay, as an array. This is an array. You know this is an array. Yeah, so this okay. We are done. All you have to do left is return it. Return whatever you just collected. Oh, sorry. Product
data.
That's it. Job is done.
Let's see.
That's it. Now let's go ahead and fire up. Oh.
How does it look like?
How does it look like? Yeah, that's a very good question. Remember, we have pre around it, so we should be able to see pretty if this everything. Okay. There you go. Let me just zoom it so you can see a little bit. See all the data. It's a lot of data. I'm zooming it. You won't be able to see
it. Yeah.
Let's zoom it bigger. So it shows an array with 9 other arrays. A multi-dimensional array. Each array represents one row.
Okay.
Watch carefully. Each of them represents one row. Product name CD. Can you see? Product description. This is a CD. This is your data. And I have repeating the process. So you see, because I said fetch as a associative array, it's using the column name as a variable name and the data as the data. This also tells you whether they're string or they're integer. This is going to go all the way. It's a multi-dimensional array. We achieved what we want, finally. So I'm going to give you this code. Try it if it works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure this should be available. Can I share the file, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah? I want you guys to go through it, spend whole night on it. No, not whole night. I mean, like, spend, tomorrow, not the whole night. You're not crazy like me. So don't do this. Just, shall I give you shall I update the whole in the Opeldo with the new one?
Yes, and you can download
good,
it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me stop sharing. Let me do this. Update this quickly, so you can download the fresh copy of it with all the linked and everything. Because I have linked some files, it will be easy for you.